The growing concern among many Nigerians and stakeholders on the affairs of the country and the leadership under President Bola Tinubu is also a major issue in the country in terms of deliverables, in terms of what the National Assemblies are doing, the general approach to governance, most especially at the very time our economy is sinking. This has caused a whole lot of concern about what the presidency should rather do in his approach in addressing the many challenges. Recall the first 10 days of this month met with a whole lot of protests in the part of this country where people were protesting about hunger and the hardship in the country. But it looks like the president said he has also taken an approach in dealing with all of these issues. But when you go to the grassroots, I mean, when you go down to the reality, many Nigerians are not seeing the effect of their attempts by the president to correct the many economic challenges and issues we have in this country. All of these as draw concern. And tonight on the program, we'll be focusing on some of the economic and the social issues confronted by President Bola Tinubu and the current federal government. What is the government doing? What is the attempt like? What is the approach? All of these will be what we'll be enlightening on the course of the program tonight. My guest is a former presidential aide in the National Assembly Affairs to former President Muhammadu Buhari and a member of the National Assembly, the Senate precisely. Distinguished Senator Itai. Thanks so much, Distinguished, for joining us on the program.
Thanks very much. Thanks for inviting me.
A lot of concern. I mean, first 10 days of this month, people said hunger is high, hardship is high. And then when you look at what the presidency will respond, that we are doing this, a lot of reforms in the central bank, reforms in these sectors, palliative to state governors, distributions of funds and all of this. But in essence, many Nigerians are saying we can't feel the impact of every attempt. Does it look like the government are not doing their best, Senator?
I think it is a question of misunderstanding of what who the government is. Because under the Nigerian Constitution, there are 3 tiers of government: the local government, the state government, and the federal government. And the federal government has its area of jurisdiction, like defense, foreign relations, and internal security at a certain level, the police and so on. And the other the other tier is the state government. The other tier, third, is the local government. Now, there is money given to the state government. There is money given to the local government. Now, part of who should produce food? To produce food, you must have land. To go into agriculture, you must have land. And those who have control of land is the local government and the state government. But the local government will collect their money, the state will kidnap it and use it. Now that we've been able to get autonomy for the local government, I think it's going to be better, a little better. Now, the state government will take their own and they will be using it for things that are not really economically reproducing. And they will keep making the people to believe that it is the federal government that is in charge and that is managing the economy. And unfortunately, Nigerians are so used to believing that the federal government is everything, whereas the state government deceives the people to believe that it is the federal government. Now, there are three. The revenue of the country is shared to these 3 tiers of government. Of all this, the federal government, the state and the local government take 52%. And land under the Land Use Act is in the local government, is in the state government. Which of the state governments has produced food, has cultivated, has gone into agriculture and cultivated food? The federal government is even prepared to buy and then make it available, store. Just like we've been frustrated enough. The federal government is frustrated enough to say, look, you can bring in food. I will give you waiver of tax, VAT, and other things that the federal government is supposed to take just to make this food available. And I have had occasion to challenge the government of every state because to behave like Niger State. Because Niger State some months ago had to say, look, you will not sell food. We will not sell food to any state outside Niger State until the citizens of Niger State have had enough food to feed themselves. I want every state to say, look, I will not sell beans outside. I will not sell beans outside Akwa Ibom, outside Kogi, outside Kwara State. I will not sell rice, I will not sell yam or potato or tomato or pepper until the citizens of my state have gotten enough, which means that you would have gone into cultivation. If every state does that, there will be food in this country.
Distinguished, the reason why many people are calling on the federal government is because they are the one that removed subsidy.
Yes.
They are the one increasing the CBN rates and all of those exchanges, the policies by the central bank. They are the one controlling what goes in and what goes out. So it looks that the presidency is receiving all of these. I mean, the federal government is having this attention. Many people are saying subsidy is a problem of this crisis. Who will remove the subsidy is the federal government.
No, it's not the federal government. It is not the federal government. It is the government of the federation. The National Economic Council is chaired by the vice president, and it is the Economic Council made up of the federal executive, all the governors of the respective states who control the local government. And all the governors of the respective states have said, remove subsidy. Is it not correct? All. But the entire country.
But do you, envisaging the risk factor and the management of the crisis that comes after the removal, who's supposed to have a control of that?
It is the 3 tiers of government. Because when the subsidy were removed, the money that is available is shared to the local government and the state government and the federal government. The federal government did not remove subsidy and take all the money. It removed subsidy and make the money available. It is for the local government to go into agriculture. What is making things costly? It is the absence of food. And when the food is not there, then you will, the small quantity that is available, the price will have to go high. Now, the money has been tiered to 3 tiers of government. Now, the federal government, you can see what they are doing with their own money. You can see the Lagos Calabar Highway.
People are saying it's not people-centric, it's not touching life, well, it's not bringing food to the table. These are the issues.
It's not bringing food to the table. It is not the business of the federal government to produce, to plant food, to go into agriculture. He only coordinates. The federal government owns land only in the Federal Capital Territory. When food is costly and unavailable in the Federal Capital Territory, blame the federal government. But anything that happens in Kogi State, Kwara State, Akwa Ibom, Rivers, Bayelsa, every state has the government of that state. So, because they are in control of the land of that state. The federal government only owns land in the Federal Capital Territory and the lands that it has been donated to. Which is in the river basin authorities, which is also under a certain level of control by the states. So it is the states that have to plant food. The federal government is managing its own, which is police, army, the navy, national security, international relations, foreign affairs, and so on. I think I want Nigerians to please accept that the governors of this country are very unpatriotic. Unpatriotic in the sense that they know the truth. They have collected money. And they even collected the local government money. And are using the state government and the local government money. And are telling the people it is the federal government. Meanwhile, they are not telling the people what they are using the money to do, except paying salary when they find the grace to. So the state government should also go into agriculture. Not also. It is the federal government has no land to plant. It is the state government.
All right. So you also indirectly saying that distribution of grains by the federal government is of no use?
The federal government distributing grains is distributing what it had bought from the states and from the producers and stored in its own silos. Now, I want to charge the state government. Also have your own silos. Buy grains like the federal government is doing. And when it happens, release the grain. In fact, if you have your grain stored, the federal government will buy.
All right, with the revelations we're having coming from the oil sector, do you feel that subsidy have been properly removed? Because it looks that federal government are still subsidizing fuel.
The question of subsidy is like the devil's alternative. Frederick Forsyth wrote one book titled The Devil's Alternative. Either way I choose, men must die. And the devil's alternative means whatever action I take is no better alternative. But it was better to remove the subsidy But the only thing is that the ground, it should have been done after, it should have been fully effected after the refineries have started working, you know. But be that as it may, the governor said it should be done. All the presidential candidates said they will remove subsidy because subsidy was being managed fraudulently. Not that it was bad, but the way it was like a cash cow for a certain class of persons.
All right.
You know, so it was necessary to remove subsidy. But what we need to do now is to make sure that we refine our local petroleum product. I also know that we now have a different problem. It's no more the problem of refined petroleum product. It's now the problem of having crude to feed the Dangote refinery. If we had crude to feed the Dangote refinery, we will not be importing.
Who are those selling our crude? Are we out of crude?
We are out of crude. We are out of crude because, one, the production is not up to the quantum that even Dangote refinery alone needs. That's number one. Number two, Nigeria had collected loan and pledged our crude in advance. So whatever is produced now is for supply to international oil companies which we had taken their money in advance. And again, with the Dangote refinery is on stream, the Warri and Port Harcourt, they said they will test run in August.
For good number
Today
of times.
is 22nd August. Please, I'm still waiting for it to be test run. And let the thing produce, and let me also buy it for my...
Do you feel there is no transparency in all of this?
I will
and that's
not,
the reason why
I will not,
many Nigerians are saying we do not have confidence, bring back the subsidy, we don't want the subsidy to be back.
I will not say the subsidy should be back. Rather, we should rather manage and bring transparency into the process, into oil production and a lot of other things. So it is no more a question of refineries to refine. It is now a question of crude to be refined by the refineries. I also pity the president of Dangote Group, Aliko Dangote, because he has told us that this refinery was configured and designed to refine Nigerian crude. But he doesn't have Nigerian crude now. He has to reconfigure, he has to redesign and reproduce certain components of his refinery to be able to take the imported crude. Because he cannot have that kind of refinery. And then countries from outside who are bringing crude. And I hope it is not this crude that those who paid in advance will now be taking abroad and then bringing it back to sell to Nigeria. Nigeria, who did this to us?
The moment where things were much hard for Nigerians, and it looks that we are being swept under our foot, it was the fact that you remove subsidy, and at the same time you floated the naira. And some of this policy by the Central Bank of Nigeria has also raised a whole lot of concern. But for CBN, they are saying we are making a total reformation in a bid to fight inflation in the country and all of that. From all indices, would you feel that Cardoso is doing a whole lot in terms of managing that singular policy, floating the naira?
I think they are doing much to manage it. They're doing as much as to manage it. And if we have reservations about the way they act in the course of managing it, we make that reservation known to them, because Nigeria is on a very fragile state now, so that everybody's wisdom has to be brought onto the table. Everybody's knowledge has to be brought onto the table. I heard you said in your introduction that Nigeria is sinking, or Nigerian economy is sinking. Nigeria and Nigerian economy is not sinking. It's simply challenged. And of course, when you want to stand up, you must have various challenges. And this challenge has gotten to the point that we all are squatting, just prepared to jump, and Nigeria to jump to its greatest potential.
So do you feel, because you just brought an attention about people trying to, tighten their belt to just so that we can survive this stage. So people will now say the cost of governance is still high. We've had greater number of ministers ever before in this country under this regime. We are having the president every day making a whole lot of appointments. National Assembly have increased their wages. How do they even have the power to review the salary? How do they determine how much they earn in the country? Has also been a controversy. A lot of concern about the expenses of governance, where Nigerians are saying we can't be the ones suffering, and then people are enjoying our tax?
I think it is that cost of governance. Under the law, it is certain. It is known what an officer of the government, what a minister who travels abroad is supposed to take as his ESTA code. It is known if he travels locally, what he's supposed to take as his traveling allowance for a day. It is known what the managing director of NNPC, the central bank, deposit insurance, communications commission, the NIMASA is supposed to take as if he's going abroad or if he's done. But it does appear that some of these persons, given the big name of the office they are, when they go there, they now go and appropriate for themselves what they ought not to. And there is the audit and the Auditor General of the Federation. The function of the Auditor General of the Federation is to post officers of the Auditor General's office, just like they post officers of the Accountant General's office, to every ministry, department, and agency, so as to make sure that every voucher and every claim that is made is in accordance with the extant rules. For instance, under the Certain Political and Judicial Office Holders Salaries and Allowances Act of 2007, which regulates the salaries that the judges are to take, the president is to take, the vice president, the entitlement of the president and the senate president, that president and vice president, the entitlement of the not the senate president, because the senate president falls along the legislature, which is the Revenue Mobilization Allocation of Fiscal Commission that provides and defines their salary. It is defined what it should be. The governor of the central bank, the managing director of NNPC, the chairman of Communications Commission, the managing director of NIMASA, Port Authority, all the agencies, they are in the grade of what they call grade A agencies under the Act. The governor of the central bank, the managing director of NDIC, the group managing director and the executive directors of the NNPC upstream down, they are all public officers. And so they cannot take more than what is provided in the Act. A minister has the highest, which is like 4,000 naira a day, as it were. It graduates down. I understand that there is questions in Nigeria today that some chief executives, I think one of them or one of two or three of the parastatals under the Minister of Finance is said to have taken at least, is it $10,000 a day per day or so? And one of them is said to have given himself about 1 billion naira housing allowance for all the officers under that agency. Housing allowance for a house in Maitama. I just wish that this is a rumor that is not confirmed. Because if it is a fact, then that is a matter for the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. So these are the kind of things that makes the cost of governance high. Because the fact that you've been appointed as a managing director of, hypothetically, it doesn't refer to anyone, but it is known that you have been a managing director of Deposit Insurance or Asset Management Corporation or NNPC. You are still subject to the Certain Political and Judicial Office Holder Salaries and Allowances Act. You are not entitled to accommodation. You are not. You are not higher than the legislature and the legislator. You are not entitled to accommodation. You are not entitled to a car, except what they call operational vehicles. Because some of them still use money and buy vehicles and say, for the managing director, some buy 3 with the convoy vehicles. You are still, no minister in this country is given a car to drive. No minister. Under your terms of appointment, under the public and political office holder salary, you are not entitled to a car.
So the SUVs we see ministers being
those
driving
are
the cities
perhaps bought by the parastatals under them and just leased to the ministry to use. No minister. I was advisor under President Buhari. I was not given a car for the 7 years I served until I resigned to contest the governorship of Akwa Ibom State. Amechi was minister. He was driving his personal car. Fashola was driving his personal car. All the governors, all the ministers I seem to have known, except those who had parastatals who had parastatals under their control, who had vehicles, you know, those parastatals may make vehicles available to them. I now see, that is why I'm coming to the cost of governance that you've raised. Sometimes the National Assembly is also responsible for the collapse of governance in this country. And I repeat it for a second time. The National Assembly is responsible for the collapse of governance in this country, because what the power that was vested in the National Assembly to supervise and make sure that some of these things are not done, the National Assembly has abdicated that power. Now, I see in some ministries' budget, they will provide for the purchase of 2024 SUV in the office of the minister. When under the law, the minister is not entitled to a car, but you provide for it. Now, when in the parastatals, it is also provided for the heads of the parastatals against what is stated in the law. So it is the National Assembly that has collapsed that has raised the cost of governance by failing to do what they ought to do when they ought to do, by failing to keep the gate, by failing to be on the guard, by rather opening the two aspects of the door wide for high costs of governance. So wherever we want to find the blame, we have to find in the legislature, because they have been very laxed in the performance of their functions. Very laxed. And they collude sometimes, with respect. Okay, sometimes a request will be made. Even if the request is made in the budget, taken to the Federal Executive, sent to you. It is sent for you to pass it as you think fit. The president is only one person. He is not in a position to read everything that every minister and every ministry has brought. That is why he sends it to the 360 heads in the House, 109 heads in the Senate, for you to look. And that is why you have committees and see this thing that is needed, this vehicle that they're asking for, is it within the law for me to provide for it? If you provide for them to buy, why wouldn't they buy? So the cost of governance, we have to find the fault and the collapse, the high cost of governance in the legislature, because if they did not approve, these persons would not also buy. But again, I will urge the Secretary to Government, and I will urge Mr. President to establish compliance bureau, because it does appear that the Auditor General of the Federation, which has sent auditors to every parastatal, to every ministry, those persons are supposed to, when an audit comes, when a request comes to buy a car for the minister, or the managing director of Communications Commission is traveling, and he wants $10,000 as a DTA, and for 4 days he's asking for $40,000. It is the job of the internal auditor to say, under the public service rules, you are entitled to $4,000. And so that voucher will not pass audit. And if it doesn't pass audit, it cannot be paid. The same thing goes to the central bank. The same thing to NNPC. Because I don't see why a chief executive, the governor of the central bank, the managing director of NNPC, the managing director of the chairman of Federal Inland Revenue Service is not bigger than the Minister of Finance or Minister of Petroleum or the supervising minister. You are under the minister. You cannot be entitled to higher extra code, higher rent allowance, and you cannot be entitled to a house. In this country, it is only 3 people that are entitled to accommodation. The rest are entitled to loan. The National Assembly members, all of them, are taking loans for rent. And that loan is deducted for the period of 4 years. So why should a high-level officer, because you are chairman of, I am not talking of inland revenue. If I mention it, it is just for example. But I'm talking for all the parastatals and the current stories that are going around has indicated which of these parastatals, and even what it is. So,
All right.
the cost of governance the high cost of governance is caused by the collapse of the legislature. I want to end with this. When I worked as presidential liaison to the National Assembly, one of the days in the course of running and trying to save the situation where I was accused of that I stole the budget. You remember the story of the missing budget? I had one of my cars, my operational vehicle, collapsed, knocked engine. And I had to appeal to Mr. President to please provide a car for me to use, President Buhari. And he told me, President Buhari told me from where? And he was right. That there is no vehicle, and that if I'm going outside, that I should ask for a vehicle in the among the CVU, Conference Visitors Unit, that I should give 48 hours notice that the State House Chief of Staff Office and the State Chief of Protocol, the office, will provide vehicle for me to go outside and to Kaduna. That was when they closed down Abuja Airport and we were going to Kaduna to board. The president told me that, and he was right. But all I asked him was, there are operational vehicles. Some people are using operational vehicles we said, look, I'm not. And I wasn't entitled. I was not entitled to a vehicle. And I did not have a vehicle, because in the computation of my salaries and allowances, including all the ministers, cabinet ministers, there is provision there for you, there is car loan there for you to add money and buy your car. There is provision for fuel inside it. So the government cannot, after providing this and paying you, come to buy for you. The same goes for Central Bank, Deposit Insurance, NNPC. The same goes for all of them. I see some of them go to have and drive bulletproof cars. It is bought by the cost of the government, bulletproofed at the cost of the government. Now you alone there, can you, if you find out the cost that it takes to keep some of these officers with this amount of money, with call, I hope we won't have the kind of situation that we are just trying to manage and come out from.
It's a pathetic concern, and that's the reason why we're having this conversation, because the federal government will also tell you that they inherited a bad economy. And this also brings your administration, where you were serving, to board. A concern, the fact that President Buhari said, I'm coming to fight corruption. But on leaving office, it also looks the fact that we are having more corrupt cases and issues pending on that administration. What went wrong, Senator?
I'm not in a position to...
From your oversight, I'm not asking you to respond to all the allegations. Give us a perspective to what went wrong, because that was what we know from President Buhari.
Mr. President, Emeritus President Buhari kept a clean record and a clean name. And that is why, under that administration, any person who was alleged to do anything, he said, go and answer for it. He never shielded anybody. Until now, I'm sure you would have expected that any person who served in that administration, who is found to have had a question to answer by this administration, it would have been expected that he would say, oh, it is APC government to APC. Oh, that was my man, shield him. Mr. President, there is no such thing. When they call, you go. That is what he used to tell us. When they call, you go.
So under his word, you feel he didn't know what was going on under his
I will not be able to say more than what I have said. But I'm sure, all I know is that President Muhammadu Buhari served this country to the best of his ability, and any question of corruption which came to his knowledge, he dealt with it. The one that had come to the knowledge of the public or the present administration, this administration is dealing with it, and he is not telling them, please leave him, he's my person, which is the most honorable thing and honest thing to do, which he has done.
All right, listen, which debt crisis, debt servicing is increasing, and is also becoming a crisis. And I look forward to the fact that we have more that are coming. We are borrowing, we are still loaning every time. The presidency is also appealing for more, and we are looking at the fact that it's also posing a threat to our economy. Do you feel, or what do you feel are the best way to handle servicing and repayment of these debts that Nigeria is facing? Because it looks like it's a future crisis for us.
No, you're wrong. It's not a future crisis at all. It's not a future crisis at all. It is crisis of yesterday, crisis of today, and it is present crisis. I'm sure you heard Nenadi, the immediate past the immediate past Minister of Finance, when he addressed and said that we are using about 80 or 90% of our revenue to service debt, and that we are borrowing to even run the current. We had been in crisis of debt for a long time. So what I suggest Mr. President should do now is we should have a judicial commission of inquiry or some inquiry, some investigation, because we borrowed money to build the airport. Is that not correct? We borrowed from China. Now, we've started using the airport, the international airport. We've started using those facilities. It is generating money. Who is controlling that money? It should be that airport we built, which when we generate money from that airport, we now use that money to repay that China loan window. It should not be that people are eating. If you see the way that the managing director of FAN and all of them, all the parastatals there, they will use it to buy brand new vehicle and drive with convoy. Meanwhile, it is a loan. Meanwhile, Nigeria is repaying that loan with oil, with supply of oil. It is what Nigeria should do now, the president should do, is to make sure that he goes to every source of the loan. He takes up the loan and makes sure this loan that we took, which is now due for payment, how much has come from the source from which we took the loan to build or to construct or to invest to repay this loan? Who have been managing it? Where has been the money? And then, not that some people should go to prison, but then it's simply that to find out where is the money, and then we repay. The worst of what we're having, and which we're going to have, is the situation we have from Ogun State. Ogun State is not the only agency. There is Kaduna. There are other agencies, that had taken loan, even under the World Bank, on agricultural purposes. It is loan. And in that loan of agriculture, sometimes they supply you some tractor, sometimes they supply you SUV to drive, sometimes they supply you beautiful Nissan. That is still loan. And then they call it agriculture. Now, the states are going to, when the state defaults, like Ogun State has defaulted, they can't seize the property of Ogun State, because Ogun State is an internal affair of Nigeria. Ogun State is not known to international law. Ogun State, Akwa Ibom, Lagos cannot contract in law. It cannot contract. It cannot sign international loan contract. That is why when a state is going to take loan, under the Debt Management Office Establishment Act, that loan has to be guaranteed by the Minister of Finance. And that loan has to be approved by the House of Assembly first to show that the House of Assembly has agreed that the governor should take that loan. And then the National Assembly has to approve to show that as a sovereign, because it is only Nigeria that is a sovereign as a country. Nigeria, Cameroon, Ghana, Chad, Libya, and all of them. Those are countries. United States, Great Britain, those are all countries that can contract under international law. So any loan that any of these states, that Borno State took, Yobe State took, Niger State took, Akwa Ibom took, of international dimension, it is Nigeria that is owing. So whenever it is due, it is Nigeria's assets that they will seize, like they have seized the aircraft. Well, it's not presidential jet, it is aircraft, because it's presidential jet because you have designated it so. It is aircraft of Nigeria. You understand?
Who make use of it?
It is designated.
It is also the president.
It is designated.
It's not only the president that make use of it.
It is in the presidential air fleet.
Air fleet.
Now, so the federal government has to be very careful. It has to take emergency action. The Attorney General of the Federation, the Minister of Finance, the Director General of Debt Management Office, and the Governors Forum, they have to take action. Because I'm a lawyer, I'm in practice, I am aware of many more that are in the offing. I'm aware of many arbitration awards against Nigeria. I'm aware of some more pending, which are pending resolution, which are pending judgment.
It has a future national embarrassment.
It has a future, present national possible embarrassment. So get the state. Let the state not take the windfall from the removal of subsidy. Let them apply that money to repay the loans that they took. The governors of those states have gone. I'm sure we are following up what is happening between Amosun and the present governor and the governor that he succeeded. Whatever they are saying, he does not pay the loan. Whatever they are saying, it does not answer the question. The answer to the question is pay the loan. And they cannot pay the loan to those people. They have to give it to Nigeria because it is Nigeria that is owing. So I will urge the National Assembly, please take this issue very seriously. Go into all the loans that you have approved. Find out the extent of compliance. Find out the extent to which these loans has been repaid. Find out what is outstanding. Find out the credibility of those states. Find out what the states are doing with the monies. I know it is the House of Assembly, but then you owe. It is now Nigeria that is owing. Find out what they did with the money and how we can get the money from their monthly statutory allocations to pay to the federal government so that it can repay these international obligations.
Former member of the Nigerian Senate and the presidential head in the National Assembly, distinguished Senator Turner, for his thoughts and contributions on the way forward for Nigeria and what the government must urgently do in rescuing the situation, economic situation in general, under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Thanks so much for joining us on the program tonight.
Thank you very much for inviting me, and congratulations to Global TV.
Thank you so much, distinguished Senator. We'll go on a break, and once we return from the break, we'll be looking at the issues of course of governance in generality. Do stay with us on the program.
For an insightful idea that takes the center stage and the conversation that gets beyond the headlines, to explore the lasting impact of political decisions, Big Talk got you covered. From policy debates to geopolitical insights, from thought-provoking discussions to actionable insight.
What is the real responsibility of government?
Big Talk delves deep into the heart of the matter. Join us weekdays on Global Televisions from 6:30 p.m. for a reverting journey into the heart of politics, where we dissect issues shaping our society.
Ministers under the administration of President Bola Tinubu has just clocked a year, and it looks as if many Nigerians are also rating their performances in office. As some are saying that some ministers are in nowhere are living to the expectation of the president that promised Nigerians a lot of deliveries in terms of governance, in terms of economy, providing economic solutions, reforms to our sectors, and all of that. The appointment of the many ministers this time in his administration has also been confronted with a lot of criticism. All of these has been a concern. And of course, I'm being joined by Maxwell Opara, who is a legal practitioner, who will be giving us an understanding about x-raying the performance of these ministers and looking at also the fact that people are saying having more ministers is increasing, government expenditures in terms of governance. Thanks so much for joining us on the program tonight.
It's my pleasure.
Give us an understanding, your rating about the increase of ministerial offices in terms of president under the president, Bola Tinubu, and also they note the fact that these are not in any way affecting our economy, and also rating that their performance is justifiable for us to have that good number of team members playing with, playing in delivering the government of Bola Tinubu.
Thank you for having me once again. The issue there is that this issue of governance and mismanagement of governance and public funds has been overemphasized. And when we talk, they don't even listen. We have our own private businesses that we are operating. I'm a lawyer. I have lawyers working under me. So are you telling me that I don't know those that are competent and those that are incompetent? If you have courts, you have matters in courts. You have matter in Federal High Court. You have matter in Court of Appeal. You have matter in Supreme Court. You have matter in Upper Area Court. You have a case in police. And somebody attention needed at National Human Rights Commission. And some other person's court. You should know those that can go to Supreme Court. What is the matter for? Is it for to go and get a date? So what are we talking about? Here now, you that's the journalist, if they ask you, who are the ministers that are working, you should know. I'm not a fan of Wike. I'm not, in fact, if Wike come out for election, I'll vote against him. But he is doing work in FCT.
Now, some people argue with it that is only consolidating on the project of federal government.
I'm not talking about only on construction. I'm not rating him in construction. Go to FCDA, go to Aegis. That place has been sanitized. Go to internal generated revenue. He's doing something about it. Look at the security. When he assumed power, he knew Igwe, the CP. This guy is an operational person. Give it to me. He worked with me when I was in Rivers. This one is not, he's an Igbo, he's not this thing. He's here. And when Igwe came, I think that should be in February. Under 2 months, though we have not gotten it right, but you can see that we are doing something. Then check which other ministry, Festus Keyamo. To an extent, he's doing something. At least he's taking decision. You can see it. So other ones, what are you doing? So are you telling me that there is, because Mr. President told us that there is going to be a sort of template that you must meet. If you do not meet it, you are going. What is happening? So
you are insinuating that some ministers ought to have been dropped by now?
Of course. Someone like Minister for Agriculture, what is he doing? Someone like Minister for Environment, what is he doing? Someone like Minister for, you can name them. Because when you are working, people know that you are working. As is about to go on strike, what is Minister for Education doing? So if somebody is not giving you what you want, to drop that person. Because at the end of the day, it's your government. You can see how President Buhari just recruited all those confused set of ministers. And we are shouting on top of our voice. These people are killing. He allowed them for, most of them, for that 8 years. And they destroyed the country for 8 years. Now everybody is calling Buhari. Because he allowed, look at what's happening in security. You are my security, my guard. You are there. Armed robbers came to my house, or thief came to my house. You don't even have a solution. Am I going to keep you? What is the Inspector General of Police still doing? What is the Director of DSS still doing? What is the Chief of Army Staff still doing? This is exactly what Buhari did. These service chiefs, they are not helping you. They are there to loot money. They want insecurity so that you'll be budgeting more money to them so that they will be looting. They looted all those money and nothing happened. That happened during Jonathan. It was after Jonathan we now begin to hear that Dasuki Gate. the money that was. So what are we talking about? What is happening? You are commissioner of police, Imo State. You are commissioner of police, Katsina State. You are director of SSS, Imo State. You are director of SSS, Katsina State. If I hear kidnapping, you are going. It's a very simple thing.
All right.
Tell me what you want. I will provide it for you.
All right.
Give me security. If you cannot do it, go. Let me try another person. That is how all these things have been done. They kidnap today. They kidnap tomorrow. In Benue, in Imo, a state that you are managing. It's not as if that is not a president that's ruling 52 states in America. One state in America is more than Nigeria, and then somebody is controlling it. It's what you are talking about, competence. Anytime you remove this issue of a tribal sentiment, religious sentiment, and you are qualified to do it, come and do it.
So are you saying that President Tinubu have not hired the best son to do the jobs, and of course concerned about
my brother, when you have the best, you will see now. Do you need to talk? When you have the best, you will see now. When you say have the best, you will see. People will tell you, for Christ's sake, I have a hotel there in Imo State. I traveled, and some persons are telling me this new manager you brought is doing well. I don't even need. In fact, one, when we are even discussing, he said, Pastor, what happened to your hotel? Because I wasn't there. The whole, I brought somebody from Abuja and said, please go and manage my hotel there. Under 2 weeks. You don't even need anybody. The guy did not tell me that he's doing well. I said, how is it? He said, okay, we are trying our best. But when I came, I saw it. So what am I saying? Apply that to your personal. President Tinubu has some. He has TVC. He has other business. Are those business, are they not working? Are they not working? Because you get people there. Is it because this is Nigeria? You know the people that can do it. Whether the person is from Labour, whether the person is from PDP. That's one of the things Obasanjo did. Immediately Obasanjo imagined that 1999. He asked all the politicians, go to your state, go and meet your governor. He picked the best brain. During Jonathan tried. And that was why Nigeria was unable to feel that looting that was going on that time. Because you have something like Okojiwala, you have something like Soludo them, you have somebody like people who are ready to work. And they were holding that economy. So, my dear brother, it is a very simple thing. If those of us that are in opposition, those of us that are Christians, it should be listening to us. I hear them saying, and we have said this in time with that number. Like now, during that of Buhari, you see what all those cabals will say they're doing. They say, please tell your wife is causing trouble. The only person that can tell you the truth is your wife and their brothers and their children. Now that you are calling Senator Oriyemi Tinubu and the Sheyi, what are people doing?
So you're saying that
they should advise their father. They should advise.
But there are those that are saying that we voted for President Tinubu. We didn't vote for either Sheyi or the wife of the president. That there are also constitutional problems. And
no, what I'm saying is that advising. I hear them saying most of the times, as I'm talking to you, as I'm talking now, my wife is listening. Immediately after this program, my wife is not coming to praise me. He's going to look the area I did not speak well. That's your wife. So my son will say, Daddy, look at what you say. Don't say it another day when you're in the television. These are your own people. I hear them saying, somebody that wants a fellow will say, even when you made a mistake, guy, you did well today. Do you get what I'm saying? So the point I'm making is that let him listen to us. And in this particular organization you are now, the people that will make you to run this your program very well are the opposition you have here. And those oppositions, that's the people that you should listen. When they are criticizing, we are criticizing for you. All those psychophants that are around you, because you probably normally dash them money.
So does it look like the president is not aware of the hardship? People that are close to him are telling him that all is well and it seems things are going well.
What do you want me to say? Because if you have a good advisor and somebody asks you to buy it, somebody asks you to go and buy $150 million, you said no. No. Now, you see what happened in, this local government autonomy. Now, this local government autonomy now, you establish EFCC and ICPC in every state. Thank God that they have set up a monitoring implementation team. Now, as you are sending money to that local government, let the councillors in that local government, let the Igbes in that local government, let the teachers and youth in that local government, let the Noga in that local government be giving you direct information. I don't know what I'm saying. That was one of the things P2B used. When P2B brought out a particular number and he gave it to the prefect of secondary school. Those are the people that are giving P2B what is happening in secondary school, and he was working with it. Do you know why OT is working in Abia? OT is listening to people direct. So, my brother, to get Nigeria is very simple. Because Nigeria don't even need much from you. What we need is give us an enabling environment for us to run
to be able to strive.
That's just it.
Issues of government expenditure. I mean, recently the purchase of the presidential aircraft have also raised a whole lot of concern that it looks that the president is insensitive to the hardship of many Nigerians. And the other way around, the presidency will tell you that we do not want a situation of abnormality in terms of the functionality of the aircraft, in terms of foreign trips, interventions on their way, having issues and all of that. That they have justified the reason why they ought to purchase it. But I mean, in terms of priorities, is a concern. Do you feel that this government are not paying attention to top priorities in this? I mean, in the country?
Bringing it to your own family again. September is coming. My son is about to go to school. I have my car that I'm using that is giving me trouble. I said, if I cannot manage this car, I will drop it because I'm going to pay school fees for my children by September. I don't know whether you know what I'm saying. I should be a stupid father to go and buy a new car. Then by September, my children will not go to school. We are talking about priorities, scale of preference. Now, the jet you acquire now, do you need it? Where are you even going in the first instance?
He's going to meet other foreign functions and attend and represent Nigeria. I recall that the ministers cannot effectively represent the president or be a signatory of any account.
Can I explain to you? Can I explain to you? I am coming here now with Mercedes Jeep. And the landlord has already thrown my family out. They don't have clothes to wear. And I enter here with Mercedes Jeep and 1,500. How will you address me? You will address me as a foolish father. Because one, you know that I don't have money. You know that I don't even have brain. That my children are lacking food. That people they don't have a place to sleep. And I just enter into this hotel, into this studio with Mercedes Jeep. My brother, you call me, so my dear brother, the president is not qualified, in quote, to write, to even enter, what do you call it, business class. Yes, quote me. I wish that they will listen. He's not even qualified. I have traveled. I have seen the leaders of countries. Listen, let me tell you. My father said, if your house is on fire, you don't go out chasing fire, chasing rat. I bought bread. That bread was in my car for 5 days. I forgot to bring it out. I threw it in the dustbin. That bread stayed there in the dustbin for 2 days. Lo and behold, I was upstairs, saw a woman with his 2 children carrying that bread. They wanted to eat it. I shouted, tell my driver to go and collect it from them. I heard them saying, I call my driver, I counted 10,000. Say, please give that woman, collect that bread, to go and throw that dustbin out. So what the point I'm making is that this is somebody that you are governing and you are riding a jet of $150 million that you are going for meeting. Meeting to do what? My brother, foreign investors will not come because you are riding private jet. Foreign investors will not come because we attend meeting. Foreign investors will come when they discover that there is security here. When they discover that people can express their opinion here, when they discover that there is rule of law, when they discover that it's fundamental right protection, that is when they will come. Foreign investors will not come because we buy private jet. That is a seat.
Thanks so much, Maxwell Opara, legal practitioner, and of course, a public affairs analyst for adding to the conversation tonight on Big Talk. Issues and concerns that the presidency must also pay attention on the cost of governance and also walk the talk. It's not more about talking, but about walking the talk. That is the much we can take tonight on the program Big Talk. Looking forward again seeing you tomorrow, where other issues politically will be highlighted on the course of the program. My name is Edika Michael, and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.